you're feeling slow and unathletic, then Usain Bolt is one of the best athletes to be studying to learn how to train to become a faster athlete. In this video, I'm going to break down all the exercises he does in the weight room and on the track to get faster, the reps and sets you should probably be doing for yourself depending on your athletic level, and some key fundamental training tips that you need to become a faster athlete. The first exercise is going to be sprint starts racing other people. Now, in the research, we know that sprinting at over 95% intent is the #1 way to sprint faster. When you have multiple athletes who are around the same speed, you have 3 guys who are all about the same sprint speed, you're going to get max intent. And the reason why max intent is important is because you're going to get max motor unit recruitment and you're going to train the central nervous system to fire and develop fast twitch muscle fibers. If you pair this type of sprinting with high rest, so 2 to 3 minute rest between every sprint, this is the #1 way to get faster. I'm going to share other exercises to develop power and elasticity, but when you're racing people, you're getting beat or you're beating them to 10 to 20 yards, there simply is not a better exercise to develop your speed. It doesn't matter your genetics, doesn't matter if you're a slow twitch fiber athlete or a fast twitch fiber athlete. Nothing replaces time sprinting or racing sprinting. That's why most athletes, especially in track and field, all they do is go to track meets, they just listen to what their coach does, and they only improve during the season. But during the off season, nothing really happens. It's because during the season, you're going to track meets 2 to 3 times per week, and you're sprinting 60 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters at max intent with high rest, 1 to 2 hours between every race. And when you have this high rest between every race, you're gonna get max intent and you're going to improve. That's why people slowly improve through the season, but during off season, they usually fall off because they don't know how to train correctly. For reps and sets in terms of acceleration sprints, we're going to do around 4 to 8 sets of 10 to 20 yards. My sweet spot is 4 to 6 sets. An example workout I do for acceleration, especially if you're racing people or timing yourself, would be 6 times 20 yards with 2-minute rest between every single sprint. This is going to be the best way to improve your acceleration speed and overall explosive power. Quick note, if you're racing someone who is significantly faster or significantly slower than you, then these are 2 options you can do. If someone's significantly faster than you, then you start 5 to 10 yards in front of them and you guys start off a clap or someone saying go. If you're significantly slower, then you start 5 to 10 yards behind them and try to chase them down. Doing this type of core exercise is going to train something called the TVA. This is the deep core muscles that can transfer over to upright sprinting and even acceleration. He's known to have back pain, which some physical therapists and trainers will say that if you have back pain, training your core can be a great way to reduce that type of pain that you're having. Now, the details like sciatica or whatever type of pain he truly has, I'm not going to get into that, but either way, the core can be a great way to release some of that pain and help transfer the power you're producing into the ground through the entire body. This is a low back extension exercise that can train the posterior core. A lot of people think you only have the abs in the front of your body, but you also have abs on the back of your body. You have a core muscles on the lower back of your body, and training that will, especially if you introduce load to the exercise, you will train your lower back to prevent injuries long term. For reps and sets, this can be something, especially if it's no weight, 2 to 3 sets of 20 to 30 reps. This exercise is going to train your abductors. This is important because thigh angular velocity matters with abductor strength and adductor strength. So the stronger you can make these muscles, the more they can stabilize at faster rates, which increase how fast you throw your thigh into the ground. So your turnover speed and how much power you put into the ground. So you need strong adductors and abductors, and you need them isometrically strong too so they get stabilized fast. For reps and sets here, I honestly do these daily, 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. This next exercise, there's not really a video for it, but it's band resisted A drills. I love doing these to teach the body how to produce force backwards. The issue with regular A drills is that there's not really a big stimulus to improve your technique because the velocity is too low. So if the velocity is slow, so how fast your body is moving is slow, you're not really gonna see high transfer over to fast speeds when it comes to technique improvement. But what this can do is teach your body how to produce force down and backwards, which is very similar to max velocity. A lot of people think that you're just producing force down during max velocity sprinting, but that isn't true. You're producing force down and then you have to propel your body backwards because you're moving forward. That is what momentum is. So having just a simple band or a simple type of harness around your waist can really teach your body how to produce that force down and back, and even have some transfer over to your acceleration sprinting. For these type of drills, I like to do 1 to 2 sets of 10 to 20 yards, depending on like A skips, A switches, triple switches, stuff like that. Okay, I'm gonna slow down and do a lot of pauses here. This is a fast calf raise. The reason why this is important is because in the research, when you go 40 to 60% of your 1 rep max and go for speed, you're actually doing something called eccentric overload training, where you hit higher peak forces in the amortization phase of your calf raise or your squat, which is pretty much the point of reversal, which is where you produce all your power in sprinting and jumping. Is that point of reversal. So eccentric overload basically means you're dropping as fast as possible, catching it at the point of reversal, and producing as much power as possible to reverse that way up, which has high transfer in the research to your sprint and jump performance. So pay attention to this calf raise. He goes as fast as possible on the eccentric and then pops right up. And then he's doing the same thing here, but this is a glute kickback. It's way too zoomed in. I don't know why, but it's a glute kickback. So he's doing that where he's dropping really fast and then catching the glute and producing force as fast as possible. This is eccentric overload training. This is why people will say lifting for light weights fast will improve your performance. This is technically what you're doing. You're doing a fast eccentric, like a speed squat. You're dropping fast into the half squat and then exploding up as fast as possible. And then he's doing the same thing here with the hack squat machine, which I think is actually better than most barbell options for especially tall athletes. Getting a hack squat machine has more stability, and in the research, stability leads to higher peak forces, and that's what we want, is peak forces when we're sprinting. So when you have more stability, you could load up the bar more. He has, I think, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plates here. He's doing a half to quarter squat position and producing force at joint angle specific positions that he will be sprinting at in max velocity and acceleration. For these reps and sets on all these exercises, I like to do 2 to 4 sets of probably 4 to 6 reps. Sometimes you can go up to the 8 rep range depending on the loading. Now, hang clings, he's definitely not using a lot of hip extension here, and I used to hate on hang clings, but I think I'll change my mind on it just a little bit. At the end of the day, what really matters in the weight room is the velocity of the bar. You're either going to go extremely heavy or extremely fast, and they're going to deliver different results, right? If you're going to move the bar fast, you're going to get more speed strength transfer. Speed strength is going to transfer very well to your sprint performance, but sometimes you might lack force production, and that's when you want to get on those single leg variations or those machine squat variations and go heavy at quarter or half squat positions. So if you're trying to improve your force production, I'll go single leg or machine variations, go quarter or half squats. But if you're trying to improve speed, just pick the lift you like. If it's high pulls, if it's snatches, it's cleans, or it's, for me, speed squats or speed rear foot elevated split squats, you just want the bar to move fast, right? You want to be as fast as possible, just exploding for power, and that will transfer well to speed strength, which transfers well to sprinting. For reps and sets here, we'll probably do 2 to 4 sets of 4 to 6 reps. And then it looked like he was doing some type of hang clean, rapid hang clean variation. This exercise right here, this is called a build-up, or it might be a flying 10. So you kind of jog in for 10 to 20 yards and sprint as fast as possible. That's one of the best ways to improve your max velocity sprinting. That might have just been a warm-up, but either way, we're gonna act like it's a flying 10 because flying 10s are important for your max velocity. Now we got dumbbell lunges. I love anything that is a split stance or single leg variation. Every sprint you take is on one leg, right? You never sprint off 2 legs unless you're in the blocks or even in any sport. So when you're sprinting on one leg, you need to be able to produce force in these type of positions on that one leg. And anything like a step up, a lunge, or a real foot elevated split squat, or a Bulgarian split squat is going to be the best way to develop true total leg force. So how much force your leg can produce for sprinting and jumping. So this is a great variation. I'd go heavier, but obviously he's just doing it for maintenance work. And then for the reps, 2 to 4 sets of 3 to 6 reps. Now here we got resisted sprints. I'm known for being the guy who always yells at people to do resisted sprints, but I've changed my thoughts recently on how to do them. When you're doing resisted sprints, I used to say 40 to 50% of your body weight is great for early acceleration, and that can be true, but I'm starting to lean more towards the old school training methods of 10 to 20% of your body weight, even sometimes 5% of your body weight. In the research, it shows that the highest transfer for sled sprints to your acceleration or explosive power is going to be 10 to 20% VDEC. Now that's a hard calculation to have. If you have the equipment to test your VDEC, that's how much you slow down when you put on a certain load, then go ahead and do that. But if you don't have the fancy equipment or you don't want it to be that complicated, 10 to 25% of your body weight is going to be the optimal load. If you're trying to do overall sprint speed, then 10% of your body weight. If you're trying to really target early acceleration, or then maybe that middle acceleration, that transition phase of your sprinting, then you can do 25% of your body weight, or sometimes 15 to 25. Now, if you have a very big weakness, then you can go up to 40 to 50%. I used to just prescribe this all the time, but I would only do this if you have a huge weakness, then go 40%, 50% of your body weight. But understand that load is load. So you're adding load to the body. Although, yes, you're not squatting the load on your back. It's not a lot of systematic load. You're still putting load on the body. And the slower or the closer you look like you're walking, the less is going to transfer to your sprint speed. So I like to keep the sled weight low and then sprint as fast as possible. Once again, if it's acceleration, 4 to 6 sets of 10 to 25 yards is going to be key for developing acceleration, which is the most important thing in all speed. No matter what sport it is, you need acceleration. Here's just another clip of him doing some acceleration. By the way, I always, if you don't have sleds, go for hills. And then if you have a sled, try to go for waist harness. I don't really like shoulder harness that much. If you're going very heavy, so like that 40 to 50% range, then I'm cool with you doing a prowler sled where you're pushing. If you're going light, you can do that too, especially if you're like a basketball or football player. You don't really need the mechanics like a track athlete. So yeah, you can do prowler if you are one of those athletes. Here's another clip of him doing leg press at joint angle specifics to max velocity sprinting. So look at the bottom position. This looks like acceleration or a max velocity, maybe a little more acceleration. He's going pretty deep. And then he's overloading it by 10 to 20% of probably his full range of motion, 1 RM. So if you want to be very specific, let's say you squat 300 pounds in a full range of motion deep squat, you want to go 10 to 20% above 300 pounds and then load that up for a quarter squat. And really the best way to do quarter squats is single leg presses, single leg hack squats, or single leg Smith machine quarter squats. That's going to have the highest transfer. But obviously we don't see him doing that because this is a little more old school. The type of stuff I'm talking about is a little more nuanced, new school type of training that a lot of people still don't believe in yet, but just give it like 5 to 10 years. You guys are going to understand what I'm saying. Yep, and he's just lifting for pure weight, probably doing about 6 to 8 reps. Once again, for this type of stuff, 2 to 4 sets of 4 to 8 reps will probably get you the type of power gains you want. Here, I used to hate on wall drills, but the one thing I will do is that if you're doing extensive wall drills, so you're doing them for 20 to 30 seconds, you're actually building the negative step, right? So this tendon has, you have the Achilles tendon right here, and you want that negative step, your tendon elasticity to be durable in this position, because this is also what you get when you're just sprinting, is that extended Achilles that has to store and release elastic energy fast. So doing long duration wall drills or any type of plyometric where the ankle is behind the body and you're stressing the Achilles tendon rapidly over and over again at a decent speed is going to build that tendon strength and elasticity you need to be pretty springy, especially in acceleration. For these type of stuff, especially if you're doing extensive, then I probably do 2 to 4 sets of 30 to 60 seconds. If you're going to do box jumps, yep, single leg variation. So jumping off one leg for 2 to 4 sets of 2 to 4 reps, max intent, try and jump as high as possible. I usually don't prescribe box jumps, especially very high box jumps where you're landing in a deep squat. But if you're doing it on single leg, I love this variation. It develops a lot of force in early acceleration. If you truly struggle with early acceleration, try either step up jumps or single leg box jumps. That is a cool jumping variation that could help your early acceleration, that first 0 to 10 yard sprint speed. If you like Usain Bolt's training, then you probably will like my training. I've trained athletes to run 10.2 in the 100 meters, so go watch this video to learn how to improve your acceleration sprint speed.